Now see here. This won't do. This has gone quite far enough. Beyond the bounds of prudence and good taste.
Listening to TV Ate My Dinner. This is episode 1 for July 21st, 2007. My name is Sean. I am one of your hosts. With me here are Greg and Brooks.
Hey, how you doing?
Howdy.
In the year 2007 AD, DarkCrazy.com launched the last of its 8th dimensional probes. Theorizing that the teachings of popular culture could save the world, Dr. Shang, Gilberto stepped into the TV Ate My Dinner accelerator and vanished. He awoke to find himself in a dimension not of sight but of sound, trapped in an imaginary non-space called the interwebs. His only guide on this journey was Greg, the gruff co-founder of the project, who appeared in the form of a voice Sean could only sometimes hear. While lost in non-space, they joined with other explorers who were adrift on the seas of fate, such as Hazel, Lynn, and the mighty Mandrew. I am Braun, an artificial intelligence from the 8th dimension who has chosen to join their crusade, to combat the growing toxicity and negativity that threaten to corrode the very fabric of the internet. We've been running ever since, striving to point out what once went wrong, in movies and TV, on a never-ending struggle to subtly civilize the information age. In the continuing voyages of a make-believe space coaster that's inexplicably known as TV Ate My Dinner.
Things to touch on.
I didn't bother. This whole episode's gonna be a brain dump.
I mean,
I didn't get around to watching Thor because I read 6. Stuck at home.
That's okay. I mean,
but I figure it's all right.
You're listening to TV at my dinner. My name is Sean. I'm here.
Okay, yeah, just get started.
Andrew, Greg, and Lynn.
Hello.
Hi.
Just so we can actually start talking. But
I thought we were going to discuss what topic we were going to discuss before we started discussing the topics, and then you just jumped into it.
No, never.
Save it for the show.
Go.
Do it live.
Where did you ever get that? Yeah, maybe that's how comedy.
When were we ever organized? Back in the day, we used to
go
do
by the
pages
gut.
and pages of research and notes and stuff.
Yeah,
You
we're
don't
over
remember?
that.
We do need to get back to some of those. I'm embarrassed. We didn't even do a Halloween this year. That's how bad.
We did like
That's
a Mary
all my
Shelley
fault, because I
episode
got all
that
this
could have
stuff
been
going
like a proper thesis.
Yeah, we could just
I could've
transcribe
submitted it.
that. We did a lot of work there. We did some more work than really should have just been a podcast episode. But I enjoyed it. I don't know. I feel like next year we should do Chucky. They've got these. They've been doing these Netflix Chucky movies.
Are we going to do the Christmas
And I'm like,
episode? Because I've
Chucky's
been
kinda
watching all these horror movies, and then
I
we
do
missed
want to do that.
Halloween.
I gotta watch. I'm totally down with making up for the lack of a Halloween
By doing horror
episode
Christmas?
by doing a horror Christmas episode. I gotta watch Black Christmas because that's a classic that I have not.
Well,
gotten
we
to
got to
see.
watch both Black Christmases.
Let's say, isn't every Christmas a horror Christmas?
Oh, I've seen the remake though, but I'll
It is in
rewatch
retail,
later,
Greg.
I guess.
I am not looking forward to it.
Oh, no, no, it's bad. Bad.
Yeah.
Megan and I were talking last night about writing a Christmas song called "Leave Me Alone for
Yeah.
Christmas."
Oh, that'd be,
Yeah.
that'd be the
All I
best
want for
gift for
Christmas
Ruin the
ever.
is
hell out
sleep,
of
man.
that.
Just,
Leave me alone for Christmas.
Yeah, that song will write its damn self.
Let me stay in bed.
You can have your
Exactly.
retelling.
I chose not to have any children of my own, so why
You
should
can
I
get
have
me
to
For-
make
presents,
sure?
for
but I'd
a
rather
reason.
stay home instead.
That means Christmas
Yeah,
is
really.
for me.
I have no children.
Your
for a
presents
reason,
are nice, but I
because
prefer your
hate
absence.
Christmas.
Yeah.
See, I'm just telling you, we could write it.
Yeah, instead of
we
presents,
hardly have
It's
to write
gold,
it.
man. It's
I
gold.
like your absence.
Yeah.
Absence and
Instead of
presents.
presents, I'd like your absence. Yeah, that's what I like instead
That's
of
good,
presents.
that's a good
I'd
hook, we
like
should
your
use that.
absence.
This song basically writes itself. We should do an album.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awkward silence.
The
We
anti-Christmas
could do
album.
TVA Medina the musical.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd
that'd be
love
fun.
that. Well,
That'd be fun.
For a show I did Christmas specials every year, and I missed last year. I need to do an anti-Christmas special.
The first song could be
You're
called Is
watching
My Mic On?
TV.
Can you hear me?
Ate my
Is
dinner.
my mic on? Yeah, and it's just hello.
Yeah.
Mic on? Is my
Hello?
mic on? Hello, hello.
Does
hello.
that work?
That can be
Hello?
the backbeat.
Now?
Hello,
Are we on?
hello,
Now? Now? Kabuki?
now.
Kabuki? Oh,
Is Greg
can
there?
we do it
Is
again?
Greg there? Are you sure?
Yeah,
Greg there?
Cannot
Yeah.
die
Greg's not on tonight.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
Kabuki
yeah,
is-
yeah.
Kabuki is the second song on the album. It's like a Melikaliki Maka
Sorry.
song.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, a cappella. Kabuki.
How's that Rent song go? Like 500,000 minutes. That's how many.
I think Kabuki
hours-
Christmas
How much
sounds
time
like
we
a
spent
hit
doing
song.
TV Ate My Dinner.
525,600 minutes. That one
That's
is
how
great.
long
be
it
good.
takes to
Kabuki
do
Christmas
an
this
Called Seasons of
episode.
Love. Seasons of dinner.
Asian theater and holiday cheer.
No Transformers for me.
That's how long we
Oh,
haven't
we
done an
skipped over that,
episode
didn't
because well, Sean and I plan to do it. That's where we stalled out. Is right. We're about to do a 10-year, and then we finish
We didn't
Game of
celebrate
Thrones.
our
Yeah, we should
anniversary.
say.
God, you guys didn't even
6
give me
months ago
presents.
was our
It's like
10th
you don't
year
even love me.
anniversary.
This relationship has gone
You're gonna have to
cold.
accept our absence instead of our presence.
Yeah.
Is that why
gonna
we
start
slowed
cheating on
down
you
so
in
we
other
wouldn't have to
podcasts.
talk about another Transformers movie?
No, we wanted to talk about this one. This one is fun.
Well, I didn't see it, so I'll take your word.
You don't need to see it.
Yeah, I know. I think I've seen it like 5 times.
What I said to Sean,
What is
it is a
that?
fever dream
No.
of a movie. That's what.
I actually think it would be hilarious to do an episode of that though, because it was so funny. What are we watching? What is this? But yeah, that's the Thor thing is the opposite of that. What about chickens?
Oh, wait, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. I thought I turned my mic off. Red just got home with the shopping and I'm yelling at him about getting the wrong chicken.
Okay, yeah, I just heard you talking about chickens. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
So that
What the
the
hell are you
mic
talking
being
all over the
muted
place in
only
this
works when I'm
episode.
trying to actually hear it. Mic mutes itself when I'm trying to record, but when I'm trying to turn it off so I can have a conversation with someone, it still records everything. Awesome. Thanks, microphone.
All right, what are we gonna talk about first?
Well,
The chicken, obviously.
I mean, we could come out and say that Thor is awesome, in my opinion. But I feel like I don't have anything to say because I just really loved that movie.
It's exactly the thing about it is I thought it would be something, and it beat expectation just because it was even more fun than I thought it'd be. But it's exactly what I thought it'd be. Like the trailer, if you like the trailer, it's that movie.
Yeah.
It's a
there was
it's like
still
a
stuff
Flight of the
about the Korg
Conchords
stuff.
Thor movie, and it's amazing.
I can't believe that they had something going in that wasn't in the trailer. Like when Korg comes out, it's like, oh my god,
Piss off, you ghost!
there's just nothing. Piss off, ghost. Hey man, I'm cold.
It's just great. That's what I mean.
My favorite character. We didn't have enough flyers, and no one showed up much except my mom and a boyfriend. Who
I
hate.
mean, the thing to say about it.
Just like
Apparently there's
he's
a lot of
this big
improv
rock
going on
monster.
because that's the way that guy does. I mean, you guys have seen
Yeah,
what we do
and
in
I
the
think-
shadows?
Well, apparently all those.
Well, like the Jeff Goldblum, you could not script what Jeff.
Yeah,
Goldblum
he's just
does.
Jeff
Oh,
Goldblum.
damn it! I gotta see it. I haven't seen it.
God, you gotta see it.
Yeah,
Oh,
me
And
neither.
even
I know
apparently,
it.
Oh,
even
I gotta go see it.
We should definitely not talk
No,
about
no.
it. Though.
I
I'm
mean, go
sorry.
ahead because I don't want to
No,
mess up
talk
the
about
fun.
it. I've
But
already
do
had
go
half
see
of
it.
it spoiled
Well-
because someone came on this Australian TV show and he just gave away plot points. The interviewer was giving away plot points. He was like, so I hear that this person is this thing and this thing happens in the end. And, like, poor, what's-his-face, Chris, was on it going, you can't really say that stuff because that's spoilers
Yeah,
about the
that's
show. And he's like, oh, really? Well, how about this thing? And the guy's like, oh, God, just stop talking.
yeah, the
You just
spoilers.
gave away
Well,
stuff.
it doesn't matter.
There's not as much spoilers
Because
in
the
it. The
fun
spoilers
stuff
are
is just
interesting for
how they get
Yeah,
there.
the spoilers like there
Well, this
are
sort
some,
of movie,
but
I don't think it really matters.
yeah, it's not. It's
Yeah, it's just so much fun. This is
It's not like
everything
we
they
watch
should
Metal
do
on the
in a
Orient
movie.
Express or anything like that.
I actually think this is my favorite movie. Now.
I think it is my
Really?
favorite Marvel movie. It beats
It-
Guardians.
My
everybody,
favorite movie
I
of
mean,
all time
everybody
for
I've
a
talked to
while. It's
has
holding
that
the
have
belt.
seen it says it's just great, and you
Well,
know,
it
and
literally
yes,
is-
the trailer to me looks like it'd
Yeah,
be
it's
just
just
like
a
the
delight.
perfect Thor
And-
in an arena movie. You know,
What's the perfect He-Man movie? That's what it is.
He-Man
It's a
movie.
He-Man. Sean
I
posted
want
that,
them
and I was
to
like,
make-
yes,
I
it's exactly
want
He-Man.
Marvel
The only
to
thing
make
I've heard that
nothing
might
but
be a bit of a
movies in
negative
space
is
now.
how much actual Ragnarok is in this movie.
I think they handle it though.
There's a little bit of
I think
Ragnarok.
it's
It's not like a
fine.
complete apocalypse.
No, I mean, the Ragnarok gets fulfilled. It gets fulfilled, yeah.
It's not a misdirect. I mean, they covered that, but in a way, it is sort of like they handed Taika Waititi all the notes of what they wanted, and like, we'll work that in. But
Yeah.
here's my idea.
Because I would have
And it
liked a whole
worked. I
movie
mean,
that was just like
so much
apocalypse
fun.
and that sort of thing.
I
gonna do
I
Ragnarok.
can't imagine wanting something any different than this.
Well, maybe putting that in a
I
different
want
movie,
them to
but I
make
guess I
4
have to see
more
it.
Thor movies in space.
Isn't it kind of weird that?
Thor
Like,
space.
I don't want them to make a movie that's not a space movie anymore. Quite frankly,
Well, now they might be. Though,
I think Marvel
except
should-
for Spider-Man.
only make space movies.
well, you know that's
Spider-Man's
actually
the only one that you can keep in.
yeah, good point actually. The space movies seem like they're doing so much better than the.
Well, I guess
So
they're
fun.
unfettered.
It's like Flash Gordon.
They're unfettered.
Oh, it's good stuff. All right.
So
Well, let's talk about some stuff, I guess, that everyone's not going to love, I guess.
don't say it.
Hey,
Don't
Greg,
say it.
You sounded like you wanted to go ahead and get your thoughts out of the way about this
Just-
Star
just
Trek
do it,
thing,
Greg.
so,
I
Just
just want to
have it
express I want to like. You need to express the.
rip the Band-Aid off.
You've been
Just do
throwing
it.
major amounts of hate towards everything around.
I've been
from the
throwing
payment
shade,
model
as the kids like
to
to
all
say
the
these days.
stuff. I was like, there's been a couple times like, is Greg
Been
okay?
given some
Because he just
side-eye,
is
Greg.
raging on this show for a
I'm
few
fine.
days. It's like,
It just,
hopefully he's
you know,
fine.
Of course, I'm fine.
He's
I'm
got
fine.
more invested in it than we do so far.
Well, I just wanted to say it's like I honestly have no idea how good Star Trek Discovery is because I haven't seen it because I will not be extorted, $10 a month to watch one show.
Well, me either, but I've seen every episode.
Yeah, but you have an internet, don't you, Greg?
Yes, but why?
Well,
So
Australia for the win for once. I
they're-
just got it for
You don't-
for normal
So
money.
they're making me either
You
pay
don't get the
$10 a
promotional
month or break
samples
the
that the
law.
rest of us get for the
You
podcast.
get screeners every month.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think we're able to capture the stuff that we clearly don't pay for the services that are associated
Well,
with
okay,
it?
That's
well
a great
then,
way to say
then you
now.
need to
We say we get
clue me
screeners,
in
yeah.
on how you get the screeners because as far as I know, other than paying $10, you got to break the law.
Yeah. I hadn't heard about that. How does that
Move to
work?
Australia. I get it on my normal Netflix.
Oh, that's right.
Australia
Everybody else
wins
gets it on
again.
Netflix.
Now, I did watch
Yeah.
the first 3 episodes because I sort of worked my 7-day trial in such a way that I could see.
Well, the first
3
2 were on TV
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
right?
So and that's probably another thing. It's like I feel like this show just takes itself way too seriously to be Star Trek.
That may be true, but I enjoy what they're doing with it. And there's a lot of, kind of Trek fan service that they put in there, too. I don't see how it actually, lines up with the
I think the Klingons
continuity,
are the really
but
bad part of the show. That's probably the worst part. But
Well, if it were me, I wouldn't make the storyline about them versus Klingons. That wouldn't be the core story to me, but some of the stuff they're doing is really fun and interesting and
I
stuff
found the
you've never
characters
seen
quite
on a Star
interesting.
Trek show.
I enjoyed
Yeah,
watching
and I
it.
like it.
And the
My
action was
criticism
okay.
at the start of the show has tempered a little bit because everyone's just so mean to each other.
Right.
Oh, yeah, there
for
was
a
that.
while.
That's fun.
And they've overcome that a little bit in the later episodes, and I like that. Like they're forming relationships, but I'm enjoying it. I has nobody seen the Orville?
I watched-
I
Is
love
that
the
what
Orville.
this show?
Yeah.
That's my favorite
Isn't that-
show right now.
Orville is basically
like-
Next
I probably
Generation.
won't be watching it.
It is exactly the Next Generation. It's a Star Trek fan show that's getting paid for doing Star Trek.
And
fan
it's a little
shows.
better because it doesn't. Because first you watch it, I thought this is gonna be super slapsticky and funny, and it has that, but it really doesn't have a lot.
Yeah,
it has enough to
he-
not take itself too
Yeah,
seriously.
when I
but,
first heard Seth MacFarlane was doing it, I was thinking, oh man, this is going to be.
but it's
you know-
straight
Well,
up. It's like
finding that balance was hard for them. It took them a while, but by about the 3rd or 4th episode, we're like they've really got
But
this.
the,
This
yeah,
is
the
real sci-fi
storylines.
element.
The storylines
Here,
are straight up out of Next Generation, where they're like handling real interesting sci-fi ideas that are like serious. But then it's
kind
like
of stuff that's not been handled.
yeah,
and
in
yet they're
but then
also
it's just
taking
a-
time to do some funny stuff. And yes, like in the last couple of episodes, they've kind of even stepped away from the raunchy type of humor. It's more just humor, and like if you were watching just a sitcom kind of thing, and that fits so well.
If I have one note
into
for
this
him,
world,
I think
because it is.
He's having trouble because if it were me, I would not have cast myself to star in the show. If he really wanted to bring people in and get credibility, he should have looked for like an Alan Tudyk or a Nathan Fillion or somebody who had some credibility in that genre.
Like it, though. It's got a second season.
I do like it,
So, I mean,
and I like him. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Seth MacFarlane, but people are still looking at that and thinking that it's just
it feels like it's a
I always
prestige
question
project,
people who
right?
cast themselves in things, though, because it always seems a little bit self-serving.
I don't know, man. Because
it
I
is
thought
here.
that too.
I mean, he's running around shooting laser guns, and he's his romantic interest is Adrian Palicki. He's the ultimate
Charlize
fan
Theron too. He's like rings
exactly.
in his
I
friend.
mean, I thought about that too, and it's like that is a little self-serving. But if I were in the same position, I might do it.
But also that's
It's
inside.
not
The idea
it's
was
not like
like-
some of the people like the Mindy Kaling who had to write the Mindy Project so she could actually have a role. Some people need to write something for themselves because these days you don't always get writing that's good enough for you, especially if you're an ethnic female. But I don't know. He's white,
I think
male,
Seth
dude.
MacFarlane probably has to produce a show to get an acting role. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, after doing
like, he's
15
getting a
years
lot
of
of acting
cartoons,
jobs
he's like,
outside
I
of
just
his
want to
own
act in
project.
something, and I think he does fine.
And I don't blame him.
I mean,
why
I can
not?
sort of
Because he's
see
like,
it,
this
but
thing
I
may
don't
not
know, it
even
just makes
last
me
a
cock my
year.
eye.
I'm gonna at least have fun with it. but it's working. I think they've really found the balance of that kind of humor and just doing shows that pay service to that original Star Trek idea. I think it's such a great time because you get a Star Trek show like Discovery, which is new and interesting, but it doesn't really make you nostalgic for the stuff you used to watch. And then you got a show like the Orville, which does. So it's like you can have both. It's so amazing. How much
It
stuff
is
out there.
weird just how I was watching. Because I'd watched the first couple and I was working from home today and I was catching up. I was just working, but I was watching a couple of those things. And it is weird how just the humor is just the right amount. It's like, because the problem is you could go too far, but what the humor does in the show, it acts like a release valve. Because like that one episode where the Worf guy or whatever they change their daughter
Bortis.
back to
He's my
Bortis
they
favorite
want to
is
change.
awesome. Yeah.
That's like a real serious and kind of like, oh my god, this episode, like what they're talking about is really
Horrific.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's
they
like-
tackled a really serious
and
issue.
it never shies away from that. It even ends with something like, oh gosh, they did it. Like it really steps up to that. But then he like comes back in the courtroom and he's like, hey, this lady should talk. And he's like, no. He's like, you've been a dick all day, guys. Shut up. And it's like that would have never happened in normal Star Trek. And just that little bit, you're like, thank you. It's like it's a little bit of like a cathartic thing, and then you get back to the serious story, which is great.
And I like that they, yes, they do hit some pretty, serious issues, but then they have the bit where the Isaac steals the guy's leg.
Oh yeah. It's like, shut
That
up, I'm a
was
dick.
funny.
Like that's a compliment.
Yeah.
It's like-
But yeah, so I mean, I like it. It's my favorite new show.
I will not fill you, Captain. Bortis is just the funniest character. And they're all
Sounds
just like direct analogs of characters from Star Trek The Next Generation.
It's almost
That's
to the
what
point.
makes
It's
it
like I wonder
funny.
how they're getting away with it. Without being
Well,
sued.
because he kind of settled on that point himself. He's like, first of all, they don't own space. There was shows like that before Star Trek.
I
And
am
second,
the Emperor of Space.
judging from what they're doing with Star Trek, they're not really interested in that. Like that's not.
Well,
we're not taking something that they're
Well,
using.
and I think it has, the thing about it is, I think a lot of it got a second season. Apparently, it's getting really good ratings, and so I think
I'm really
and apparently
happy
it
about
has
that.
kind of a younger audience too. A lot of like kids and teenagers and 20-year-olds like it, and I think the timing of the Star Trek show with it at the same time is almost perfect. Because where that Star Trek show, I don't think it's bad, but it's kind of serious and but it really relies that's kind of a problem with most Star Trek stuff at this point. It just relies on the reverence for Star Trek. You're like, oh, you know what this is, right? It's like,
Well, exactly.
okay, but
It's
I think some kids watching that, they're like, what is this? But then they watch Orville. It's like, this gets all those beats and they get what we liked out of Next Generation. But then it's in it's a millennial twist. It's also funny and irreverent and stuff. So you're like, cool, this is fun.
They could cut down on the number of 20th century and 21st
Yeah,
century.
that's
pop
what I saw that
references.
in the comments of one of the
That's like-
episodes.
that's
They're like, all did,
It's gonna date it.
did the
At
culture
first I thought
stop for
that was a
300
little
years?
weird, but it was like, how long are they going to keep beating that drum? But it helps access these characters helps you access these characters so
I
well
guess.
that I'm
But it makes it feel like the popular culture must have been obliterated, like shortly after our.
Well, I
time.
guess that's a comment. Maybe that's a comment on once you have a utopia, the art is boring at that point. You know,
Well, I
it's
love
like,
that
you know,
episode where they actually had everything was pure democracy, and they were like downvoting people for their behavior and stuff. It's like, oh my god, this is an
like
awesome
Reddit culture
story. Yeah.
So
they're having fun with it. I'm enjoying that.
yeah,
I'm glad it's coming back for a second season.
we look fun
forward
to see his
Orville.
famous friends pop up on it too. I was like, oh, how did Liam Neeson?
Liam
You're like,
Neeson
what?
just
I was like,
didn't-
oh, he knows Liam Neeson.
We lost
Right, that's how. It's like he gets.
in space.
And I was like, Charlie's there, and I was like, oh yeah, he was in that movie with her. That's why he's friends with her.
There's always a trail. Like, oh, okay. Yeah.
6 degrees
But
of
here's
Orville.
the thing: where the hell is Patrick Stewart?
They gotta have him.
Patrick Stewart's in everything.
Maybe.
he
Well,
does.
that only is 13.
They're gonna be saving him for the
episodes this
finale.
year,
or
right? It's
something.
only, and I think that's secret too. 13 episodes, great. Keep it that. Do those seasons like that.
Yeah, keep doing that way. But that's a great show. I'm really enjoying that. Thor, I really enjoyed.
Did you watch?
Yeah, we kind of watched the first 3 episodes of The Inhumans and kind of fell off.
I didn't watch.
I'll catch up
that
on
got
it.
so
but-
many like. I was just like, I'll figure that out.
Yeah,
later.
I haven't
'Cause
even-
It got.
Well,
Haven't
they,
looked at it.
they marketed that all wrong. If you were going to make it an IMAX movie, then you should have put movie money into it. It was only like 8 episodes, I think, is all they're doing. It's like you should have shot that whole thing like a big, expensive movie and then made it,
Well, I know it should be all like
high-end
crazy and
TV show.
cinematic and color graded. It looks like it's worse than a CW show. That's the problem with that. What it looked like.
It looks like it's just like a CW show.
Right.
You know what I mean? Production quality wise. So it's not bad. I like those shows too, but they get to be missable because you're like, well, you know, in the summer they'll all be
Well,
on
that's what I did
Netflix
with
and I'll
Flash this year. I just caught up
You know,
last
have
year.
something to catch up on.
Flash
Yeah.
this year,
It's
by the
not
way,
like must
is
see
super
TV.
fun. I think. I think they also hit their stride. I don't know if anybody's kept up with that this year.
with what show?
Flash.
Oh, I've only seen the first couple episodes. So I'm trying Flash and Supergirl. I've barely touched. I haven't even watched Arrow. I probably will.
They've
save
kind of
Arrow
done
for
on
the
Flash
summer.
what I hope, you know, Justice League is coming out in a couple days. I hope what they do with that is like Superman's dead, he comes back and he's like who he should have been. Flash, like he gets into the Speed Force, he comes back, he's crazy. And after that he's like, I'm not depressed anymore, I'm fine. And he just makes jokes and then the show's like a much lighter, fun sci-fi show now. I'm like, oh cool. This is great.
Which is what you
Yeah.
want from that, yeah.
Well, didn't they do that with Arrow? It like got
Right.
really dark for a season, and they were like, let's not do that anymore. We'll go a bit lighter the next season. And
It's lightened a shade in every season.
Yeah.
Like, because he was like a psycho murderer in the first season, and now he's like mostly
Even
okay,
that's not
just
that
kinda
bad. Yeah, I was like
grumpy.
going through a couple of the older ones from last year and it's like, this is all better, I think.
They're fun.
Apparently
They're all
Supergirl has
watchable
gotten
fun.
more serious this year. Though I haven't watched it, but they said Supergirl took a
Yeah,
turn.
I've watched the first couple episodes of it, but I'm trying to stay with Supergirl. But Supergirl's had its ups and downs anyway.
I did all Stranger
But I'm
Things
looking
season
for
2 the
Black
other day.
Lightning.
Oh, that's good.
Stranger
Oh,
Things
yeah.
season
Oh,
2 is
that's
good.
on my list too. I haven't got to
Oh
it yet.
yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I don't know why they got so much criticism. I thought
It was much more succinct
as
and to the
first season.
It was
point,
good.
and it expanded, and it's aliens. It's aliens of Alien, basically.
And they played with the characters. What you want to see is the bad guy from last year becomes the good
And
guy.
he's my
this year.
favorite.
That's a fun
Steve is my
show.
favorite character this entire year. He's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, there was-
exactly.
He's awesome.
There was that one
it's like,
episode that was
you wanna
like
see-
went off a little bit too far, and it felt like a little bit like they were keeping 11 away for arbitrary reasons. But apart from that,
Because she's so powerful. Yeah,
And I think they
find
have to
an
figure out
arc.
how
You
to
can't
start
just wander in and save
expanding
everyone
this into a couple
till
more
the last few
seasons
episodes.
too. They're like, well, we need more metas, if you will. We need other people in this world, and
I'm interested in that. But
Well, I
really,
need to-
we watch it for the kids. So
right that.
Season 3 is where I want to see the jerk brother come back and be a good guy in the next season. That's the writing challenge
a
for
good
next
guy,
year,
nah.
guys.
I'd rather.
I think
just
he'll
see
stay
someone
the villain.
And also Vale Bob.
I'd like to see because they.
Yeah, Bob was great
Poor
too.
Sean Astin, eh?
He was great though. Him
I
and Steve
feel
were the
bad-
best two
I
characters
felt
this
bad
year.
with that guy,
Yeah, I felt bad for him.
but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed
But
it.
he was lovable and awesome.
Punisher's coming soon.
That's this weekend.
I'm looking.
Yeah,
forward.
I'm interested in that one.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
really?
Oh, that's
Punisher and
okay,
Justice
yeah, of
League?
course. Marvel does that to DC every time. When the trailer comes out, here's a Thor trailer.
Yeah.
The movie comes out. Oh, by the way, if you don't want to see the
Just to make
movie,
us
or
look
you
like
could stay home tonight
assholes.
and watch Netflix.
Yeah, watch a
Watch-
ton of.
You know we're struggling. You know we're struggling. It's not funny. You
It's a bit
know
of
we're
overload
having
with all these
trouble.
TV show
We
things.
reboot
Well,
all
know,
the time.
payback stinks because I was watching Robert Kirkman's History of Comics last night. It's a new show on AMC.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch that.
Yeah,
Oh, really? And it's a history of like comic
Yeah,
books?
the first episode is about the creation of Marvel, and there was a point where DC had the distribution rights to Marvel comics, and they were trying to starve them out for a long time. And
Yeah, well, there you go.
so
It's a strange situation.
that's right, DC.
Mm-hmm.
What goes around comes around.
Violent mothers.
I mean, DC Comics are still better. I mean, DC Comics are even selling better than Marvel Comics, but that's nothing compared to the market that's out there to be made, like making. Because Thor's made $650 million worldwide
they don't
already.
have to Marvel doesn't have to make
weekend.
comics anymore.
And that's the thing too. As
Yeah.
much as like I'm for some reason I have a little bit of hopes in this Justice League movie. All I want is Superman to come back at the end and be better. That's all I want. That's all I care about. I know it's going to be stupid.
Yeah, that's
Bad
like-
guy looks stupid.
I want to see Batman show up, and I want to hear Danny Elfman's
They
Batman.
do that in that little clip.
You know,
Did you see that
little
little
things.
clip? You didn't watch the clip.
I
They
haven't seen
literally
any clips or
play the
anything,
cue
no.
from Batman when he shows up, when like that shot you've seen in the trailer. So, anyways, what I want is that's all I want, because I want to do better Superman movies after this. But I was amazed just in like talking about Thor again, not about what it is, but just the idea that, think about this. What is this? 17 movies in to this thing. And the big criticism, I think they kind of might have hit it with Doctor Strange. You're like, okay, this is like a formula. Doctor Strange is fun, but you're like, yeah.
Yeah, that was
But
for me.
it's incredible
Doctor
to me
Strange
that
was
number
wonderful.
17 and number 18, which is Thor and Black Panther, these movies look crazy. They are crazy. One, we've seen one, but Black Panther looks incredible and crazy. It's like, I can't
know.
believe you guys are 20 movies into this thing, and you guys, and they're, to their credit, they're getting good directors and reinventing the wheel. You know, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing it, because Warner would love to be able to do that, but they can't. Every other shared universe is about dead already. Like, everybody who's tried to launch... Only Disney has the two shared universes that work, which is Marvel and Star Wars.
Right.
The Dark Universe, the Universal one, they're saying is most likely dead, although they just brought in Blumhouse. So Jason Blum might be able to resurrect it as more of a, as shocking as it sounds, of a horror kind of
Which
franchise.
one? Which franchise?
The Dark Universe.
They're doing
The
Blumhouse
Mummy
is doing a
Tank.
Spawn movie, which is
That should be
interesting.
fun. I just saw that Sony was doing a Morbius the Living Vampire. I think Sony would have the right idea if they did nothing but horror-based spin-offs of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And just don't do Spider-Man movies. Just make zany
You just
Spider-Man
shows, I guess you just show
spin-offs.
Spider-Man on the news. You're like, yeah, that's him. See him?
That's the guy.
Yeah, exactly. And Venom is like a monster from outer space that's dressed exactly
I
like
wonder
Spider-Man
if
for no
since they
reason.
have the partnership, they're not, Marvel is not, Studios isn't doing it, but I wonder if they get to, because I guess she kind of, what Amy Pascal kind of said, these are in the same universe too, and you see that clip of Kevin Feige, you're like, I don't know about this. But I wonder maybe...
You don't see his face, you just see the spew from where he's drinking his water.
What
when
if they
she said
do
that.
something, just even story plot like that? What if it's because, for the next future of these two movies, the next 2 years, that Spider-Man's like fighting Thanos, like he's off for like months or something, you know what I mean, a couple of months or something. What if those things happen?
Yeah, while he's gone, like all these weird monsters.
Yeah,
pop up
maybe.
in his
Who knows?
neighborhood.
Well, that could be a thing.
I
like
could see that.
I could see that happening more of the stuff where the movies interact with each other, because I like that about Spider-Man, that was a direct result of what was happening in the other movies. If it had to be a
and
case
you get a chance
where
to work it in.
all of the heroes are gone fighting Thanos, and men on the ground's like, oh, what am I doing? And there's monsters and stuff.
That's where Luke Cage comes in. Like,
Go
we're
on,
not really
fight some
involved very
fools.
much in this stuff. Like, I kind of feel like I have too many superpowers to be doing what I'm doing right now.
I like Luke Cage.
Luke Cage is awesome, and I can't wait for season 2, because it's going to be him and Iron Fist together. So Iron Fist will end up getting cool a little bit just by hanging out with Luke Cage. But they got to be thinking about what to do with all those guys, because like the Defenders showed that they hadn't built up a big enough world around those characters to justify a team up. So you kind of might want to see these guys branch out a little bit from Hell's Kitchen. I found one of those natural readers, and it had a really nice British lady, but she talked really fast when she was reading some of my stuff, so I slowed it down to like -8.
Sounds like she's
And
drunk.
then she just sounded drunk and deranged.
They do that. What
And
is
I
it?
had her reading my poetry, and I was like, "This is terrifying."
Jimmy Kimmel
She's
does
just
that to
reading
the-
my poetry. It
Jimmy
sounded
Kimmel does that
like
to,
an old
the
witch.
Trump clips or whatever, where he slows it down and it's like drunk Trump. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Do you really
it
need to
works,
sound that,
'cause
slow
it's
that
an
man down to make it
unnatural
sound
way
more
of
I
sweet?
don't want to get too
No.
far into the Trump stuff, but did you see Last Week Tonight with John Oliver this last
No,
week?
I need to watch that. I saw that he did it about like the year. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he
Yeah, because it's his last
yeah,
episode.
and,
Yeah.
But he showed a clip of Donald Trump making a speech, and then they did this thing where they used whatever the autocomplete word on your text messenger. If
Yeah.
you type 3 words,
They just
you get this
randomly generate a
generated.
statement.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It
and
was
it almost
funny.
sounded just alike.
It was more coherent sounding. It actually was a better sentence.
That's funny.
Oh my god, that's funny on a
Yeah.
lot of levels.
So, but yeah, don't get me started, man. You know
All
how
right,
that goes.
so that's cool. So we got Punisher coming up. Daredevil season 3 is just
Do
started
we want
filming.
to, oh yeah, and then it's weird because the Daredevil season 3, but then after that, it's like Disney's in this weird area where they're gonna start doing stuff for them with their own streaming thing, and not be on Netflix anymore.
Well, that'll be interesting, yeah, because the Netflix deal is going to dry up. I don't understand why Disney doesn't just buy Netflix. Is that not an option on the table? They're
I
about
don't
to buy
understand
Fox.
why they can't.
You can't afford Netflix?
Everybody's trying to make their own walled garden. That's what CBS is doing with Star Trek, and
They just don't have it. They're coming
Well-
up with a new Twilight Zone with Jordan Peele. They just don't have, because they don't even have the rights to their old reruns enough to do it. They can't even play the original Twilight Zone and Star Trek on CBS All Access.
Well,
at
it's
least
so funny
not
about the
exclusively.
CBS thing too, because I did pay for it that first month, and I was like, well, let me watch this stuff, and you go into their main page, like the CBS thing main page. One, they don't have a big banner that says you're here for Star Trek Discovery. Just click here, right? You can't click right there. I'm like, what the? It's just this weird site, and it has NCIS, and I was like, I don't want to watch NCIS. I want to watch Star Trek. And then when you go in the search bar and search Star Trek, the only things that pop up are the original series. Literally. So you have to type in, not Star Trek Discovery, you have to type in Discovery, and then it pops up. I'm like, you gotta be kidding
see,
me.
well, listen to that. See, they're trying to drop Star Trek. They're
That's
trying to
so
drop
hilarious.
the word.
It's just, it's crazy to me. It's like, you go to Netflix and Punisher, that thing will be all over Netflix front page this weekend, right? You're like, yeah, that's what you're here for. Come watch this. It's like, you have to, it's like a 2-minute process to find the damn show.
Well, that's because Netflix knows how to make that navigation simple for you. They know what you're there
Yeah.
for, and they have all that good content. That was the argument against CBS back in the early days before they even made that new show. They were like, but this service is garbage.
Right.
It hardly works. The navigation is terrible. I mean, if you're trying to do your own thing, then at least try to pay attention to how it's done.
I said that. I feel like they've sort of got a gun to our heads about their programming. That's what that's really why I won't watch it, because
About their one show, and now they're gonna have 2
Yeah.
shows, and that's
Maybe.
it.
Yeah. It's like,
so I mean
that's why Disney's
screw
the only
'em.
company I think that actually
I'm
could
gonna
do
give
it.
them my
They got a lot of
$10.
stuff now.
They
Yeah,
could.
they have a lot of
Absolutely.
TV kids programming. They
I
got.
don't want Disney to own everything, though.
Well, I don't think Disney will kill Netflix because Netflix has a lot of strong original content. Outside of the deals they've made with Disney, Netflix is smart. They've seen this possibility.
I kind of
coming.
wonder if that's why maybe they are going their own way. Is that Netflix has created all this original programming that's doing really well for them, and maybe the Disney movies on Netflix are not as profitable as they once were. And
Well, I think they're profitable, but you have to split that profit and you have to
Yeah,
pay that
they just wanna
license,
control
and
it.
then you still have the possibility of losing the license altogether.
Netflix
because
is funny
Disney's
because you
doing
don't
their own
really know
streaming.
what their algorithms are and how they work out viewership and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a bit weird when you say how popular is a Netflix show. Like it's
Well, they don't share
what
it either.
money-
Yeah.
well, that's always been a challenge.
They don't actually share it to the creators of the show. Like the Duffer Brothers, I listen to them and Nerdist, and they're
Yeah,
like, we
because-
don't know. They just like it, so we'll make more.
Well, they don't want that to change the way that they produce their content, because it's such a different model, because it's not about ratings in particular, it's about how many subscriptions does this generate. That's why like CBS is handling it so sloppily, because they're like, well, we're going to make it a weekly show, so you have to stay on with the actual service, and then you got to get onto the service for this one show.
Well, and Netflix
is
the one thing where they can really, the one TV service in the world, like outside of, Nielsen's did this for years, and that's an industry standard, but they have it where they can go, oh no, people of this demographic who live in this area like to watch these types of shows on Friday nights and all this stuff. So they're not concerned. I mean, they like to have these premiere shows, but they're more concerned about volume. They want to be like Law and Order, because they already said they have 52 comedy, like have a comedy special every week, right? Because they're like, oh, people like to watch these. They also said this week that they're going to have, in 2018, they're going to produce 85 movies. 85 movies.
They have a ton
That's
of stuff,
crazy.
man. I'm telling you, Netflix is always going to be a premier service to have, no matter what you go to. Like, I'll get the Disney streaming service, but I won't drop Netflix, because they'll still have enough to make it worthwhile. I mean, they were the first ones that came up with this idea.
I'd like to know how that business model works.
Well, they stumbled for a while because they tried to do this too early, but now that streaming is here and everybody's on board, now this is the market they always wanted.
Remember in the early days of the show, you guys, one of the first questions I asked you, were you actually sponsored by Netflix? Because you would just say, well, why can't you just get Netflix to send it to you all the time?
Right.
Talking about the DVDs and everything.
Well, back in those days, I loved the Netflix DVD service, and their streaming was okay, but I didn't even.
Well, that was back before streaming was a thing.
Yeah.
Show. Yeah, I mean,
that was right around
watch
that
it on
time,
my
2007,
laptop.
2008, when it's like they introduced it, and it wasn't HD. First off, by the way, they had a couple HD movies that you didn't want to watch, but it wasn't on TVs yet. It was just on the computer. But I was so blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, you can just stream movies, and it was. Now it's like that's just taken over the world, but...
Well, they were novel in those two areas, because they were the first people to say you just mail those DVDs back to us, and they sort of undercut the old video shops from the beginning, and then they had the streaming, and
Yeah, they killed Blockbuster.
Well, we just had our last video shop close.
Oh, really?
The last one in Tamworth. It's gone.
I miss the storefront, but I don't miss the business model. I miss browsing a video store, but video stores were always so annoying.
Well,
in the way
I
they
think for
conducted
us, like
things.
it's like for us, like I more mourn it for people that are 20 now. I don't miss it for us because I think I'm a little younger than you guys, but also as we went through from my standpoint, it transitioned perfectly. Like I was in my 20s and we still went to video stores. Like I remember when I met Brooks down at the TV station, we'd go look around and then as I transition out and just have. You're kind of got a job and your stuff and moving to having kids, all this stuff, and then it transitions like, there's no more video stores, just watch stuff at home. I was like, oh, this is perfect, this is better, because I don't have to do that anymore.
Well, yeah.
But I feel bad for the kids
even
that are 18 that don't
pay
get to
for
go
play,
to the store.
Is better than having to go to a video store.
Well, it takes away my experimentation either, too, because I'm just horrible at, like, two things happen sometimes. One, you start watching something like, this sucks, I don't want to watch this, and you turn it off. Or two, you look at Netflix for 20 minutes and you don't pick anything, and you're like, I'm just going to do something else. So I'll just go watch YouTube or something.
Yeah.
And then, but
me all the time.
I just love that idea, especially in a social environment. I remember, you'd get off work with your friends and you'd go, and you spend 20 minutes looking around the video store, and even especially when I was a kid, you're like, this happened with games and with movies, where I'm like, that one thing, that cover looks kind of cool. Sure. And then, with games in both of those, it's like, as a kid, it's like, I'd get that. And it's like, that's the movie or game I had that weekend. So it wasn't like I started watching it and turned it off. It's like, no, this is your source of entertainment. So I probably watched it 4 times, even if it's a bad movie. And I kept playing that game until I had to tear it back in because, like, what else do I got? I don't have anything else. So.
Well, I just remember, like, people, like, would hate to go to the video store with, like, me and Brooks.
I love that. That's the part I loved. I love selection and walking around and
browsing at the funny boxes and the box quotes and all that.
I had my moments like that, with you guys. It was like, like how many times can we walk around this damn video store? but I mean, I was a movie fan too, so I enjoyed it. Just not as long as you
watch stuff
guys.
you never would watch.
Yeah.
But then again,
I quite like not having to leave the house and not having some creepy guy follow me around the shop.
Absolutely.
That's always not fun.
Well, I also don't miss that guy.
Yeah, sorry about that, by the way.
I also don't miss the guy. The thing that I hated.
I didn't know you then.
To me, the thing I hated the most about video stores though is the commentary. After you pick stuff and you take it to the dude, he's like, "Oh yeah, well." I was like, "Shut up, just give me the movie. Just don't talk to me right now."
Netflix does this annoying thing if you are just sort of casual flipper. Netflix does this, which is kind of cool if you're wanting to know more about the movie, but if you leave it on something on Netflix, it starts playing you a trailer for it. Like, hey, this is too interactive. It makes you like I just have to keep flipping. I can't
Amazon
leave it
does some
anywhere
crazy
for too
things
long.
online. If you watch on their Prime thing, they have. I don't know if it does this on like the app or on like an Apple TV or something, but on the computer, if you're watching it, like any scene, if you kind of mouse over, it'll show you like every actor in the scene. You can click on that and it goes like to their IMDb thing.
Oh, that's
and it'll say all this stuff, or it'll have like behind, and it's like really distracting because it'll pause the episode when it clicks off, and like. I'm just reading through this thing. It's like, oh, that guy was the guy, and then it's like, what
does
am I
that
doing?
happen when you're watching it like on Roku?
I don't know. I don't know if it's in the app. I know it's on their player.
Yeah, it's on their player online, and some of it's interesting because it's got little tidbits of, how the movie was made and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it bugs me too because
I got Google on my phone if I need to know that stuff. I got Google on my phone if I want to know extra tidbits.
Well, yeah, but
yeah, I've got that. Although for me, I have to stream from my phone if I watch Amazon because they don't have the plug-in on Apple TV yet.
Yeah, they're having it.
Let that be a lesson to you.
Supposed to be
Sean.
getting one soon.
But
well, I get it all I have to do is stream it from my phone because I have an iPhone too, so I can mirror it straight to my
everything
Apple.
works
I got a friend who
perfectly in
does
the
that,
closed
but
garden.
She doesn't have Wi-Fi in her house, so she just streams it all from the data on her phone and it costs her so much money. It's like, get Wi-Fi in your house, and she's like, I don't trust Wi-Fi.
What?
I can stream it through my phone. I have some weird friends.
okay,
I
What
want
if
my
it's Wi-Fi?
signal
Are
coming
your
from the
friends-
satellite, not through my couch. Whatever.
Yeah, no, she's so funny. But like, I guess some of the girls I work with are just such technophobes, and you're like, how do you get through life, people?
I'm looking through the original programming on Netflix. There's like hundreds of shows.
There's too many shows
So
now. There's
much
too many
there.
shows everywhere now. That's the problem.
They're insane,
Oh,
man.
I started watching How to Make a Murderer the other day, whatever it's called. That one? Oh my god, I was like 3 episodes in, and I was like, no, this has got to be finished soon. They're already at the final murder, and then I looked, and there was 6 more episodes to go. And I'm like, I can't do this. The first couple of episodes.
They gotta
were
have a
okay.
season 2 coming up. That story's really happening in real life still. There's going to be a season 2
Well,
of that show.
the first couple of episodes were good. The pacing
It's
was
a
good. It moved
saga.
along, and then it gets to the 3rd and 4th episode, and it's like, you really don't need to do this in real time.
I was like there's a show called The Keepers on Netflix, and it's one of those interesting sort of documentary shows, and it's all about...
Docucrime.
Yeah, but it's not as slick as Making a Murder or even like The Jinx on HBO. There's so many weird things going on in that situation that they kind of meander around, and there's no central thesis of what they're positing may have happened, and you start to get annoyed. In fact, I saw the last episode, and then I went to watch another episode because I didn't even realize that was the end. I was like, oh, I guess that's all for The Keepers. But I'm watching Mindhunter. Is not a documentary show, but that's
I need to watch
one of
that.
the-
I watched the first episode of
good.
that. That's pretty
I've
good.
heard good stuff.
It's based on the book, which is nonfiction, but it's really good. They're staying like things I've watched behind the scenes. They're really close to what really was said in those interviews, and it's very fascinating as a field of study.
I've been watching Lucifer. That's fun.
I think I watched the first episode of that. I just appreciate.
The first episode, I was like, oh, this is very formulaic, but it kind of uses the formula, like even down to the second person you talk to is usually the person who did the murder, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
But it kind of uses that formula and builds on it to do something more fun.
I just like that the formula of
character.
something teams up with the police to solve murder mysteries they've filled that box with every possible answer. Like
Yeah, now
the
it's
devil teams up with the
He's such
police.
a fun character, though. He just walks up to people and says, I'm
mysteries.
Lucifer Morningstar, I'm the literal devil, and they go, yeah, right. And he's like,
Whatever.
It's not like I'm hiding it.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you really? And he's like, I just told you.
I mean, there's shows like I've never even heard of. There's like one called Deidre and Laney rob a train. It's what kind of movie?
Well,
Well,
they're
wouldn't you?
constantly pumping out.
yeah.
I mean, there's shows that in today's world, there's just going to be shows, probably even good ones, that you'll never hear of. because people are just pumping them.
Well, there's too many. There's a bunch of shows I've never even watched. I haven't watched that Fargo show. I haven't watched. There's a bunch of things that are supposedly really good.
It's on Hulu now.
I was getting yelled at work for not watching whatever everyone else is watching.
I watched that Ozark show with Jason Bateman. Did you watch that?
Is it any good?
I watched the first episode of it.
It's pretty fun. It's like Breaking Bad with Game of Thrones season 7 pacing. So
interesting.
And it's really interesting too because it's like Breaking Bad, and Jason Bateman is really good in it, but he literally plays the same character he always plays, but it's not funny. Like he is always the person. Like it's the Arrested Development character. He's in the middle of chaos happening, and he's like, all right, I'm calm. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to handle this. But this is a show that's like, oh, it's pretty good. It's not the pace makes up for its lack of quality sometimes. You know what I mean? Like or Breaking Bad is like, well, we're going to do this plan. It's going to take 4 episodes. This is like, let's go do this. And the next scene is them talking to somebody about the thing. You're like, okay, fine, whatever. This is fun.
What turned me off on that show was actually just the cinematography because everything looked like it was shot to a blue sheet. I mean, everything is blue. And I guess it's made to be like
on Ozark.
What's that?
On Ozark?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's they want to make it look like it's cold and kind of dreary and all that, but it just didn't. It got kind of ridiculous. I mean,
it kind of looks like Breaking Bad, how flat that was at times and stuff too. It's that same. It's really in that mold. They shoot it up here though, by us.
That's because you can shoot anything in Georgia. We've got a locale. I don't know if we've got deserts here, but probably.
They're literally shooting galactic battles right now here.
Well, Marvel's
Spaceship's
always
gone right
shooting
past
here.
my window.
in
Space and
Riverdale.
zombies. Riverdale. I'm gonna have to catch up on that show during the summer because every time I hear about what they're doing, like I think, oh, I need to get involved in that because I think Sabrina the Teenage Witch is going to be on that.
I enjoyed the first season. I haven't started the second one yet.
I watched like the first episode or two and I really liked it. There really just is too much stuff to watch. I've never had that problem in the world where
it's not the Archie comics. It's obviously we'll just take some names of people and then run with it and do our own thing. But what they're doing is fun, so I don't mind.
It's a lot of fun. I really like that CW style of making these shows. And I want them to bring the Archie superheroes into that show. And I'll enjoy that.
I like how they did Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah. I think that kind of stuff is fun. Because what are you going to do with Archie? I love it that Archie still exists because they do whatever they feel like with Archie.
Well, the new Archie's, I mean, it's a little racy compared to like the comic books and stuff, right?
A little racy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh
they've
my
just
God.
taken the names of people and kind
Well,
of
yeah,
vaguely their
it's a
relationships and
neat
then run with
idea.
it.
I mean, because probably the people who
it's a new
would
world.
even care to watch a Archie, show are probably a little bit older and want a little bit more mature programming.
Well, it's CW. I mean, they're reaching a very specific target market. That's why melodrama is such a big part of all of their shows.
It's fun.
My kids live.
I think they have a fun way of doing it. That's why, like, the superhero shows always have a sort of teeny bopper feel to them. But that's part of their charm. Curious to see how that translates into Black Lightning.
Oh yeah, I saw the trailer for that.
Black
That's
Lightning.
Well,
interesting.
considering that superheroes and that sort of thing were often originally made for kids, it's hard these days that so many of the superhero properties are made for adults. So
Exclusively,
I think it's
yeah.
okay if they have some that's. It's okay if they have some that are still kid friendly, because
They should be
that's
kid
what they're
friendly.
meant for.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do a Logan movie and that's rated R because you've done a bunch of Wolverine stuff and you just want to do one that's rated R, I get that. Go nuts with that. But when you make a
He's a more
Superman
adult
movie
character.
that's R rated, you have to start asking, who do we make this movie for?
Yeah.
What was our goal? Like Transformers movies that are too
Make money.
lewd for children to watch them. I was like, how is this an
And you
adult
kind of
only
taking
film?
it away from the people it was made for. It was originally all for kids. I know these days there's a lot of diversity in comics and that sort of thing, but
Well, it
it's like
also-
excluding a whole market.
It's also making it weird for the adults because the adults aren't appreciating that level of tone. Like, I don't want Transformers to be very adult.
Well, and again, that's the kind of
concepts.
magic of Thor is that I would have loved that movie if I was 9 years old. It's
that's
amazing.
That's a perfect movie.
Hey, have you watched the new Voltron?
No, I've seen that it's on. Is it good?
Well, I mean, you were just talking about how you want things to be a little bit not quite so grown up. Well, Voltron has gone the other way to me. It's it's totally like aimed at 7-year-old kids, and there's a lot of just slapsticky kind of stuff going on in it, and it's not nearly as good as the original. So
Well,
I mean,
funny,
I guess
'cause when I was a little
the point
kid,
I was
I
making is
didn't
like it
like
can go
stuff.
the other way too. It can become.
I think some people mistake that that something that targets kids is supposed to be dumb. When I was a kid, I didn't like stuff that was targeted towards kids. I wanted it to have a little bit more substance to it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of what the original Voltron I think had, and this one, it does. It makes me feel like they're talking down to people, and they're trying to like put, they know that like all the middle-aged fanboys like Voltron, and so they got Voltron, but they're going to put it with this really, silly premise and all this crazy slapsticky stuff, having the characters that we cared about doing all this stuff, and it definitely froze me out. I mean, apparently it's doing okay because they're putting more episodes in, and I hear that it's getting a little bit more mature, but it's a
Well, you got to do the Pixar thing, make it accessible to adults, but not inappropriate for kids.
right.
That's not that gives you a lot of leeway.
Yeah, no, you
telling
can
a
totally do
story.
that with Voltron.
I don't understand how people. Right. I don't know. Call
These
that the
kids
Zack
today.
Snyder rule.
That's why I was kind of okay with the. Just lost the word that I was going to say. Power Rangers movie. It felt like a teenage movie, and I was like,
I
that's
watched
kinda
that.
appropriate.
It was okay.
Power Rangers is
Oh,
for
I haven't
teenagers.
seen that.
I didn't hate it. I was
wasn't
like,
horrible,
well,
it was
it's a bit teenagery, but that's what Power Rangers are. So I was
That's
glad
what
they
they're
didn't make
shooting
it
for,
too.
If you want to see the
like this big dark horrible thing. I like the James Van Der Beek thing that they did. That was just that little trial bit, but I was kind of happy if they're going to make a Power Rangers movie that it's aimed at teenagers because that's kind of what the property is.
yeah, and if you want to see the crappy brother from Stranger Things be a good guy, he's like the main good guy in that movie. So, there
Oh,
you
is
go.
he really?
Well,
Yeah,
I guess
he's
that's
the
my
Red
point.
Ranger, isn't he? Yeah.
I guess that's my point about Voltron is like if you like I said if you're going to make a movie for teenagers or using a property that was designed for teenagers, make it for teenagers. Well, Voltron doesn't do that. Voltron was probably aimed at 12, 13-year-old boys and girls too.
Idiots.
But why not make it like that again instead of making it all silly?
Oh, I tell you, a movie I'm looking forward to is The Shape of
gripey
Water.
Oh yeah.
Is
You
what?
wonder-
I think
Toro's
that's
movie.
going to be good. The Shape
she
of
like-
Water, the new Del Toro.
Yeah, that does look interesting.
Looks like it's going to be
I look
beautiful.
forward to anything that Del Toro does. I've heard it's good.
He's the one they should have gotten for that Universal thing. He's in love with monsters. I don't know how
Yeah,
that
but he
fell
wouldn't have
apart.
made it the way they wanted him to. He would have made it cool. He wouldn't have had Tom Cruise running
Yeah,
everywhere
exactly.
and
Well,
dating a 20-year-old.
they learned that nobody wanted to see that. Like, turns out
Another
that
movie
what
of
they
Tom
wanted
Cruise
to
running.
see was a mummy. Yeah, and
Shock
yelling
horror.
in his funny yell. Just, "Ah!" He has the funniest yell. I love to hear him scream in a movie.
Yeah, that movie
Very
was kind
high-pitched.
of whatever.
I haven't watched it. I wasn't opposed to the movie. We just didn't feel like going to the theater to watch it, so we just haven't seen it.
Oh, it's not
if
like-
I'd felt like going to the movies, I'd have seen that one.
It's not like it's not god awful. It's just like standard B, like
Yeah, exactly.
whatever,
It looked
never-
like watchable but missable.
yeah.
Well, and of course, you know how I am about names, right? The Mummy, until this movie came out, was a major franchise, and I mean, even though it had kind of gone away, people still identify the Mummy name with that franchise. And
Brendan Fraser forever.
Which is
The Brendan
odd because
Fraser. Yeah.
well,
they
yeah.
were
So
trying
I mean,
to resurrect the Mummy and do something new with it.
well, I mean,
Their problem is
Did it have to
I
be
was
called
curious
The
as to
Mummy?
why they would start with the Mummy. Why start with the Mummy if it's the best known
know,
as
right?
being the most recent of the franchise? Why not start with like a vampire or Jekyll and Hyde or something like that?
Honestly, I actually think that they thought that since they had a successful Mummy franchise, it was the perfect one to open with. Which,
Well.
speaking to Greg's point, is silly because you weren't using that franchise. It's sort of like how they thought that Batman was going to make this DC universe work,
Well-
even though it wasn't the Batman who'd been part of the successful Batman franchise.
well, it's
they
interesting
just
because
thought the brand would transfer.
So okay. I actually didn't know that the Mummy was supposed to be the first in the series of classic monster movies. I didn't know that. So until you just said it, and yeah, now it's really stupid because
Yeah.
you've had this major franchise
Because you're
and-
counting on that name recognition, but you're not bringing in anything
Yeah.
that the name implies.
Yeah, so you got a large part of your audience expecting to see Brendan Fraser, and then you got everybody else just going, what is this? Well, that style of movie though.
They
Well, it
remember
was
that
interesting
franchise.
because they kind of wanted to make it a bit of both. They kind of wanted to say, oh, let's make a horror universe, and they also wanted to make it action because that's what the Brendan Fraser one was, and that's what people like these days. But they managed to sort of not really do a good job of either.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
bad.
modern interpretations of the classic monsters is just kind of hard to pull off.
Well, because horror films don't pull in the kind of money that action films do. So the idea of making an
Unless they got clowns
Avengers-style
in them.
franchise like that, well, yeah, expect them to get a lot more horror-oriented now that they see that box office, because that's how
I
predictable
expect
these
people
guys
to make
are.
a lot of knockoff clown movies,
Yeah,
thinking
and
that's
trying,
the thing.
and expect a lot more, like anybody who owns Stephen King, like that.
There's so
I
many Stephen King
got one
properties
of those
happening
licenses.
right now.
Yeah,
Netflix has several of them coming out right now.
and they're good. They did a Gerald's Game that was good. What was that one? 1922. That was pretty good.
There's a lot of good stuff in Stephen King's works. His works themselves I find a little bit of a slog to read,
Yeah, he
Well-
but there's a lot of good
writes so much.
ideas.
His stuff lends itself
Yeah,
really
this
well
is
to
true. He
making
needs-
movies and
needs
TV
some
shows
editing.
because it's such a repetitive formula. So when you're reading books, you kind of get annoyed with him because it feels like he's phoning it in. But that's exactly what you do in movies, so it works.
Oh look, another writer in peril.
Yeah. A creative person with a dead sibling
How did y'all like
is
it?
being beset upon by fanatical religious
And
people.
where's he living, I wonder?
Probably some kind of supernatural alien creature in the sewers.
Yeah, I thought the It
And
movie was good
Woods.
though. I enjoyed it.
That's
Yeah.
one thing that they could spin
That
off
movie's
of
awesome.
because a lot of the Stephen King books are sort of connected in a way. I know that the whole Dark Tower thing does connect them all, but that could be an interesting little universe if they wanted to explore it.
Yeah, it's too bad that the properties are floating around, because when I saw Dark Tower, that's what I really thought. Is like the missed opportunity here is if you actually did have a cinematic Stephen King universe that tied all these books together in that thin way, not like in a way that
Well,
it's so
they could have
overt that
done
it's
that
annoying.
too if that movie didn't have so much going on in it. If it's like very just simple Western, but it had hints of Pennywise and hints of he's like, what is
Well,
going
hopefully-
on? So
I
they
don't
had
know,
that Castle Rock show. Yeah, yeah.
I think is trying to do something like that.
Oh, that
But again,
Skarsgård
all
is
it's
in
doing is
Castle
pulling in
Rock. You know
people
that?
who've been in other movies.
Yeah, but Skarsgård is in Castle Rock, and they won't say
Yeah,
who
that's
he
a
is or
different
what's going.
character.
Well, but
That
they're
dude's creepy.
but they're very hush hush about what actually is. So that would be amazing if they do some kind of crazy.
Oh yeah,
Who knows?
that'd be a lot of fun.
Bring Kingdom Hospital back into it. That was awesome.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think, yeah,
Star
I
Wars.
thought we'd have much more. Well, see, this is good that we got this out of our system because it is true that Justice League is coming out, and I don't expect that anything could bother me as much as BVS, so I don't think I'll be outraged by that movie. But I am
think it'll
deeply
be
curious as
fine.
a creative
I'm already
exercise to
outraged.
discuss.
Yeah, I don't have high
I'm
hopes
already
for
outraged
it.
because I just saw how they redesigned the Amazon Warriors.
Oh yeah, they gave him like leather armor now, not.
They had a design that was really good, and then some guy came through and said, "I don't think these are sexy."
How about
enough."
leather?
That's the Zack Snyder
Just
effect.
tied some leather in the boobs.
It's not. He's like, it's not badass enough, so let's make it badass.
Yeah,
I
hopefully
don't think
that's.
they look more badass in the leather ones. I think they actually looked more badass when they were wearing proper armor.
I did too, but you know, what I
Yeah.
mean. That's
Now they kind of just look like fantasy, like more
I'm
fantasy.
just curious
less
to
realistic.
see. Is there any way this movie could not be a hot mess? That's what that is the creative, because they have retooled it so much.
They've had a lot of cooks.
well, the
Yeah,
early,
and a
the
lot of
early
different
buzz is that
ideas.
it's like the story is whatever the bad guy. It's probably standard in that wise, but they say what they really nailed is all the characters, and that's what one of the
that'd be the
redrafts could have
important
done,
thing.
and that's what also Josh Whedon could have helped with. You know, so it's like they say, yeah, the story's okay, whatever, but and it looks like a DC movie, but they really get who these characters are. And I'm like, well, that's good.
That would be fun. That'd be a good thing.
That's
I
enough.
can't
That's
say
all I
I'm
care.
going
I'm gonna
in
give it a chance, but I'm
excited,
not gonna-
but I'm really curious.
Yeah.
I'm more interested. Like I have to,
Yeah.
like as much as I have gotten into conversations about BVS and we've done it on this show. Like, there's no way I cannot see this movie in theaters. This is like
That's the thing. Like, Megan has no interest. I was like, we're going to see that. Like, I know.
Like if this is just pure on Zack
She's had
Snyder
no
doing
interest
his
in seeing
thing, I
Justice
would be like, eh. But now that it's had this thing and it keeps getting, and DC keeps getting more kind of turned around, and then Josh Whedon coming on, I was like, this is just academically, I have to see this, see what this is. now.
exactly.
It's like,
I'm going to be excited to see it just as a creative exercise on their part. Like,
I love how
what
they're-
happens when you completely retool a movie like this in the air.
I love how they're waiting. They probably have to wait till
Well,
the week.
Suicide Squad.
Well,
usually.
they have to wait till the week after to go. Well, they actually had good people come on for this one. That was just a trailer company that did that one. But like,
They also
yeah.
had more time. Suicide Squad hardly had any time at all, and they had to retool at like last minute.
But it's so funny to me that they still won't talk about Superman in the movie. Because even I watched the little press conference they did, like over Europe, they're like, and he's there. He's giving junket interviews. And they're literally, he's like, well, I wasn't there. It's just, from what I saw those guys on set,
Well,
I was like, guys, come on. Stop talking.
He said in a recent interview that this is the first movie where you'll see the true Superman. He
I
did
can't
say that.
wait. Can you
just
believe that if they
recently.
did that?
What
and
does
the next
that
movie was like
mean?
an all-star Superman. Real Superman is Captain America
Well,
Superman.
they're trying to get to the core of what makes him good and decent and full of hope and joy.
Well, where
and
did he go when he
confident in
died?
who he is.
Did he go to heaven? Did he go someplace else?
No.
What happened to him? Did he just stay under the ground and meditate and actually get some perspective?
I think he just respawns at the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
True
next
Blood, he
life.
just went to ground for a while.
It's reconstructed by robots. It's a Krypton thing, man.
That's
I
all,
think
that. That's literally.
This
I said it again, but Flash, cool, Aquaman, yeah, whatever. That's all I care about this movie. There's the 20 minutes at the end. He comes out and it's like Super Jesus, Captain America,
I'd also-
Superman. I will be totally like I am down. Whatever now.
I
Let's
would
go.
like to see Green Lantern. If you're going to say this is Justice League, I would like.
I don't think Green
they're
Lantern's in
suggesting
they're
that it'll
scared of
happen,
Green Lantern.
But
I like their idea for
Well,
Green Lantern because the one that they had.
you
The
guys
Lantern
can't-
Corps, it's a Lethal Weapon movie with both of them as. Green
yeah,
Lantern.
but then it's Goyer doing it,
Ugh,
writing and directing. So whatever.
Goyer, come on.
So I've written
Killing
that
me.
one off too already. Goyer.
I like the idea. Who did they say that could do the next Superman movie? It was one of the, like, I forgot who it was.
The Kingsman guy.
Oh yeah, that could be cool.
He was
And
interested.
his answer that he gave was great. He's like, yeah, it should be about hope and be light and fun. Like, yes, thank you. It's
Yeah.
like, so
Like it should
Yeah,
be.
so I would love to see them make a new Superman.
yeah.
All right, cool. Well, so good. Yeah, so we
Superman
should come
good.
back and talk about Justice League, and we should definitely come back and like before the
Christmas
before
horror?
Christmas. We'll do Christmas
Yeah.
horror films because I
We'll
think
have to do a
there's a
special.
lot of super fun
Send me my
stuff.
homework list. Black Christmas is on there.
Black Christmas.
Yeah. But
How about some
Krampus.
Krampus movies?
We got to do a class.
Krampus is
There's
awesome.
heaps of Krampus movies.
Yeah, but the Michael Dougherty Krampus movie is really good. The one that actually was in the theaters.
The Michael.
But I'll
Dougherty
tell
one.
you,
I watched one that wasn't in theaters, and it was interesting.
was it Krampus the Christmas
Sam-
Devil?
It was like Krampus was cussing out some kids. That was pretty interesting.
Oh, I didn't see that. Christmas Horror Story. That's a great one. That I could not recommend. That's almost as good as Krampus, but that's got William Shatner's in it. But
So-
that has Santa Claus versus Krampus in it. That's pretty awesome.
You had me at Shatner.
Yeah, are you still talking?
Yeah, it's fun. It's super
I'm
fun.
already downloading it.
Yeah, I'm already watching it. It's in the promotional packages that we got when we announced this topic. But that's a good one. I'll have to watch Black Christmas. If you can get hold of Elves, I don't think it ever
Elves.
made it onto DVD, but it's got Dan Haggerty in it. That one's pretty interesting. And of course, any
Should we chuck
any
in
and
the Santa
or all
Claus episode of Goosebumps? Or Run the Twist or whatever it was?
Silent Night, Deadly Night. Those are classics.
Yes.
I would recommend Silent Night, Deadly Night for the Toy Maker. Very weird and disturbing. Has Mickey Rooney in it.
Well, that's disturbing to start with.
There's a whole lot going on in that one.
Ew.
But what else? There's a lot of good Christmas horror movies. Well, that's a good
Well, we'll try
list
and do
to
as many as
start.
we can in the next month and then film it before Christmas.
Yeah, that'll get me in the spirit.
Yeah, that might stop me from killing people at work.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be fun. And those are all, to me, those are all good movies, with this possible exception of Elves.
Was it Elves with a
But
Z?
it's
Elves.
fun. There's just a lot of story elements in that movie. I'll just say that. A lot of stuff going on for what is otherwise a very simple setup for a horror film. But Dan Haggerty is a department store Santa that is under siege by evil elves.
Oh, I'm so on board.
That sounds like gold, man.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the rest, but that should be enough to get you interested.
All right.
All right, cool, good. Well, this was fun. I'm glad. Yeah, we are still on Facebook. We are still TV Ate My Dinner.
We do still exist.
We do have TV@mydinner.com, and there are other episodes. I'll crank out some more now that I got a new laptop. I had a disaster with my laptop, and then some other things going on. So we're way behind on some stuff that we recorded that will have to just come out late, like Spider-Man's
Coming
on
soon,
Blu-ray.
TV at My Dinner the Musical.
TV at My Dinner the Musical, of course. But yeah, look for the Christmas album.
Yeah.
And the closing song, which is like 10 minutes of silence as we each wait for the other person to say, "And I'm Greg."
Yeah.
It's like the big opening
Yeah, we
number
call that
will be like
sign off.
the movies from the vault. You know, it's like and like we open the
Oh,
open the
the
movies
old
from the
movies
vault,
from
and
the
we all
vault.
come dancing out.
Yeah. Well, this Christmas thing's going to be a movies from the vault. You think everybody's seen Elves? You got to really care to see that movie. But yeah, that'll be a fun one. And yeah, we do have Twitter, which mostly just reposts the links to the episodes, but it's out there, and the Google as well. And yeah, so check that stuff out. And because there's a new Star Wars movie coming out, I'm sure that our Star Wars podcast will ramp up. My book is almost ready.
Well, there you go.
It will be out before the
Nice.
next movie, and it's all about it's very involved. It's just this going over the episode 7 and all the lore that has come into the new
We
canon
gotta-
leading into the new movie.
We could do 4 of those episodes.
So,
There's so much stuff to talk about now in Star Wars. So.
Oh yeah.
We do, yeah, and I really, really, really want to start doing some vidcasts on this because I have a comprehensive like a unified field theory of what's going on in the expanded
You're gonna need some graphics
canon
for this.
and what it means for the new
We're
movies.
gonna need a flow chart.
You better get it
does.
out before the movie comes out.
I actually made a timeline in Vizio, and I was like, okay, yeah, this tracks. It's like really is like I need a bulletin board with some string because it's like yes, it's all about the Night Sisters now. I'm not even talking about that anymore. This goes back to Dathomir. Like, you can ask Megan. She's probably so damn sick of Star
You're
Wars.
just sitting on your underwear,
It's like I know who Snoke is.
weeping.
I know who Rey's parents are, and I know where the Inquisitors came from.
After the last few episodes we recorded with her a while ago, she's probably just happy you moved on from Batman vs Superman.
Well, we're about to hit
Yeah,
into again.
that's another
Yeah.
reason she's probably dreading Justice League. Is like, God damn
You
it! I
should
don't
be
wanna see
like,
that
I got
movie."
new
It's like,
footage now. I'm gonna amend this. And
Oh, finally! This will go into my master
I've been
cut.
waiting for this new footage.
Finally. I love that. That's like, if I get Premiere on this new laptop, I'll have to get back on my Hobbit cut. But I had to
Just
let
when you
some
guys
stuff
go
for
see
a
it, just
while.
be taking notes. You're like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm just making some edit notes here. Don't worry.
They're making
know,
a
some
Lord of
edit
the Rings
points,
TV
yeah.
show now, aren't they?
It's a preliminary EDL. I'm just working up in my head.
Right.
All right. Well, cool. So we got that coming up. We'll try to get back and do some more stuff for everybody. I'll get this one out as quickly as I can, just so
This is
people
our
know
not
that we're
Halloween
back
episode.
and we care.
This is our fall.
This is our 10th anniversary
We're
episode.
not dead yet.
The 10th
Yeah, 10
anniversary
years.
episode, not Halloween the
Celebrate 10
musical.
years.
I feel happy.
And we hate Christmas to come.
We did it! We did it, everybody! It's like those Razor commercials. They said we couldn't do it.
Now
But
it
we
has
did it.
10 blades.
10 more years. Yeah, what are you, out of your mind? Alright. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. Be looking out for that stuff, and we'll be flooding you with some new material and content. We're gonna be the Netflix of podcasts for a while. So be looking out for that, and until then, my name is Sean.
I'm Greg.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Lynn.
Unite the Four.
I just love that pause. I'm always last, guys. You know this.
Dog crazy.